Hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Live TV Ratings Talk, a late night special edition of Live TV Ratings Talk. It's Friday night. Rampage has just concluded. It's March 4th, 2022, not 2021, like I sometimes erroneously say. It's 2022. And this week, Nielsen was delayed. Apparently there were some issues with the fast affiliates. God forbid the fast affiliates don't come out. This resulted in the Wednesday night final ratings, including those of AEW Dynamite, being delayed until Thursday morning. No, this morning, Friday morning. The ratings came out roughly 9 a.m. 966,000 viewers for AEW Dynamite. 460,000 of those in the key demo of 18 to 49. A 0.35 in the demo. That is down from where it's normally been. This was up from the bad rating of 2 weeks ago, down from the better rating of last week. As you can see, the green line here for those watching on YouTube, pretty volatile. Pretty zigzaggy, but a trend. It's mostly down to the right. Amidst those zigzags. That's the demo. Total viewership shaped similarly, not exactly the same. Not a great rating for Dynamite here. The hyped announcement that was promoted all week, Tony Khan's big announcement, turned out to be that he has personally purchased Ring of Honor. That opened the show, and we can see the quarter hours here reported on patreon.com/Wrestlenomics. You can get a further breakdown on Patreon, as well as all the data and so forth. But what I would call a front-loaded show here that started out with 1.1 million viewers exactly. This show ended in the final quarter, averaging 853,000 viewers. So that's something like a 20% viewership loss. What about the demo, though? Demo matters more, sure it does. 525,000 viewers it started out with. It didn't bleed quite as much blood and guts. It didn't bleed quite as much as total viewership did, taking in a lot of viewers probably from The Big Bang Theory, which we don't know what it did, but 525 it started out with, ended with 415. What's 525 as a demo rating? Overall, this show did a 0.35. So it started out with a 0.40, averaged overall a 0.35. What did it do? What did it end up with? A 0.32. So starts out at 0.40, averages a 0.35, ending with essentially a 0.32 in the demo. I think the main event being a six-man tag, not saying this is a bad booking decision necessarily, but a match without a lot of stakes, not a lot of importance to hold on to the viewers. The biggest quarter with sequential growth in it is the quarter that started off the second hour. The memorable angle between CM Punk and MJF, both of them coming out wearing white. hugging, bleeding buckets, and so forth. You can listen to other people talk about it and analyze it. They bled all over, and this did result in some growth in the demo and in total viewership. Let's look at the sequential growth deltas here. We do see some growth in Q7, which consisted of some promos, a short Wardlow and Cesar Bononi match, an ad break, Malachi Black promo, Chris Statlander, Layla Hirsch video, Wardlow and an MJF promo, and the main event entrances. So no big long segment in that Q7, which saw 11% growth in the demo, 2% growth in total viewership. But by that point, we were edging on going under 900,000 viewers here, 450 in the demo. As usual, about half of the audience is within the demo for AEW. So the only quarter I can point to here and say this is, look at this, what this quarter did. It was the top of the hour. Top of the hour is advantaged without looking it up. I'm pretty sure it is. That Q5, you catch a lot of viewers who are coming in from other programs and so forth and things of that nature. A lot of things of that nature this week. But Q5 is advantaged, but this one did well in any event. You can barely utter a sentence without thinking of Vince McMahon. By God. Anyway, but this I would call the CM Punk and MJF segment a success. Everything else in this show, I mean, the Tony Khan announcement, was what it was. It was intriguing, but this show did not hold on to viewership. What would be interesting, what I don't have prepared here, is to look at, and I would think the attrition has been quite a bit stronger on TBS versus TNT because of the strength of the lead-in from The Big Bang Theory. I would be interested to look into how does this compare to the start to finish delta. You started with X, you ended up with Y. What's the difference between those two numbers? Total viewership was down 22% from quarter 1 to quarter 8, down 21% in the demo from quarter 1 to quarter 8. And if we just look at outside the demo purely, down 24%. All those old folks tuning out a little bit more rapidly than those overall. That's the gist of it, I don't want to overanalyze it. What does this mean for the pay-per-view? I don't know. I wouldn't overthink it. Somebody said that, well, I think the go-home before the pay-per-view TV events are often, or Dynamites are often not that highly rated. I think we're talking about a different place in the funnel here with TV versus pay-per-view. In other words, I don't think it tells us much of anything one way or the other about what this pay-per-view is going to do for buys. We'll probably talk about that on Sunday with Chris Gullo, but they're under pressure to deliver another pay-per-view that is better than the same pay-per-view of the same name from the prior year. So what would that mean? Now that I've brought it up, I can't help but look it up. AEW Dynamite. You can find this information, which I'm going to find right now, on Wrestlenomics.com. I'm going to look at AEW pay-per-view buys, one of the most viewed pages on the website. So this is Revolution coming up. Last year's Revolution did with the failed explosion, did 135,000 buys. That is the number to beat. We're still in this, first 12 months of CM Punk and Bryan Danielson. I think it's a safe bet that they'll beat that. Full Gear was 145, which was, almost doubling what Full Gear did in 2020. So Full Gear appears to be the least bought pay-per-view of the year it doesn't appear to be. It was in 2019 and 2020. I guess it was in 2021 as well, wasn't it? No, it was bigger than Revolution. But anyway, the seasonality appears to be with Full Gear at the low point and others higher. Anyway, that's the number to beat. 135,000. We'll see. I hope somebody asks Tony Khan in the scrum, which is only in person. I hope somebody asks Tony Khan what he's seeing for pay-per-view sales, because AEW does get information that night. I will not be there in Orlando. Other things in TV ratings. as I digress. New Japan Pro Wrestling had its first run in the United States since 2019, back on AXS. They've made amends with Impact and Anthem and so forth, and they've been running reruns for about a month on AXS, programs that had previously aired on AXS back in the day. A first run, something from Osaka. Honestly, I don't know what it was. Didn't do a great rating, though. The number, what actually did it do? It did 71,000 viewers. 71,000 viewers from 10 to 11 p.m. on AXS last night. From 8 to 10, impacted 131,000 viewers. You know, we're talking about a fraction of what Dynamite does, a smaller fraction of what Raw or SmackDown do, but this was a slightly better than usual rating for Impact. Impact did its best total viewership and its best demo since January 27th, so over a month. It was a pretty good rating for Impact, which in the larger picture has been on a slide. So this was not an impressive number for New Japan. It wasn't any better than what their reruns were. Okay, it was better than last week when it was down to 53,000 viewers. Again, this one did 71, but it wasn't as good as 2 weeks ago when it did 76,000 viewers. It was a little better than 3 weeks ago when it did 61,000 viewers. And the week before that when it did 60. The week before that it did 66. And this is the first episode back on AXS. All of these reruns, 88,000 viewers. So that return episode is the biggest one. Maybe that drew a little bit of curiosity. When we're talking about viewership numbers that are this small, I hesitate to go beyond total viewership. I know we're talking about the demo here. I'm not going to go beyond the demo. We do have data breaking down into the demo. M18 to 49, F18 to 49, P18 to 34, etc., etc. These numbers at a volume, at a viewership that's this low are going to be very volatile because Nielsen is a sample. So if we go back to the slides, you can see my semi-logarithmic chart here that emphasizes the lower end of our big TV ratings graph, where we can get a better picture of the trends of Impact, and now joining it, the light blue line of New Japan. So this was what looks to be the third most watched episode of New Japan since the return. I would hope if I'm New Japan, though, that my new content is a lot more interesting than content that's, 3 years old, 2-3 years old, right? They were showing G1 Climax from 2019, almost 3 years old. Nonetheless, that's where it's at. Maybe when there's other special episodes, maybe when they show Wrestle Kingdom or something like that. But it's really starting to feel like the window has passed on New Japan. Not that they can't rekindle it. Maybe, I think maybe they need to elevate some new talent or something like that. But the pandemic is not helping. And as we discussed in January, not that much interest around Wrestle Kingdom this year versus prior years. And I see that manifest in web search too. So it's a tough time for New Japan. A lot of that inflicted by COVID and the limits on travel and the limits on the crowd and how much the crowd can react. But that's the state of New Japan. And at least here in the US, these TV ratings don't look great. But it's better than not being on TV, which has been the case with them here in the United States since the end of 2019. We will talk about Raw. Let's run through Raw real quick, and then I want to take a wider look at some longer term trends. Raw this week had how many viewers? We look back to the scoreboard. It had 1.75 million viewers, a 0.47 in the demo. If we look at year-over-year trends, how does that compare? Or even sequential trends? This was down from prior weeks. This is below, again, I say this every week, this is below where they were in the year prior. That's in total viewership. This is in the demo. They're substantially below where they were last year in the demo. This was slightly down from last week, excuse me. I do have quarter hours. Quarter hours for Raw. Nobody else has got this. Anyway, we saw some growth towards the end of the program, with hype and anticipation building for Edge to do another one of his thespian performances, where there was all sorts of speculation about who is going to be revealed as his WrestleMania opponent. It turned out to be AJ Styles, and that was, while it wasn't the most viewed quarter in the demo of the show, for 634,000 viewers, for a quarter in the third hour, that's pretty good. As we know, the third hour is almost always the least viewed. I believe it was this week even as well. But some strong growth there, as I would infer there was interest, curiosity, and that led to some growth in the viewership. If I look at YouTube, which I have not spent too much time looking at tonight as I prepared for this, or the extent to which I did prepare, if we look at what was the most viewed clip, what was the rank of the clips on Raw, I can go to this spreadsheet. Thanks to the power of the Pythons, we have extracted this data, and the most viewed clip of Raw on YouTube was Damian Priest turning heel on Finn Balor. The second most viewed clip, by the pretty comparable numbers here, 1.5 million for the Damian Priest heel turn, 1.4 million as of tonight at 10 o'clock for the consecutive heel turn, that being by Edge. So, did we see growth? I guess we saw growth. Did we see anything that suggests that the Damian Priest Finn Balor match? Yeah, I mean, it grew the audience. Sure, sequentially, it grew at 11%. Grew in the demo 13%. That was the second to last quarter. As I continue to point out here that sometimes there's at least, if you want to read it in a certain way, I mean, maybe you could read it other ways, but this is the way that I'm reading it, and you see some sort of corroboration here between the YouTube views performance of the given segment, which has all its particular intricacies to it. You have to click on it usually. I know there's autoplay, but usually you're clicking on it. It's global. It's obviously delayed, and things of that nature. TV is a linear forced experience, sort of. You just have to turn the channel on. But anyway, we do see some corroboration here. The peak, the most viewed quarter, was this quarter Q5 at 9 o'clock, top of the 9 o'clock hour, which featured the latter part, excuse me, of the 6-woman tag match. That was Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch, Doudrop, and Nikki ASH. That grew sequentially 11% total, 10% in the demo. Do we see that among the most viewed YouTube clips? Yeah, actually we do. That is the number 3 YouTube clip with, as of tonight, 1 million viewers through 24 hours. And that may or may not be accurate. I had some issues with my script here, but we do know, at least as of tonight, it did have over 1 million. But after 24, according to this, over 500,000. I'm not super confident that is correct after 24 hours, but I am confident that these numbers, as of about an hour ago, are accurate. Pretty confident. And that is over 1 million. And these are the 3 clips that are over 1 million. And these are the quarters that jump out to me as, well, maybe the content is what drove the growth beyond whatever external factors and so forth, or just random noise. We do see some growth here in this quarter Q3 with Almost promo and his entrance and ad break, T-Bar and Almost. Becky Lynch, Doudrop, Nikki ASH promo. A mix of segments here, so it will be hard to, sort of cross-reference this. But no, it's T-Bar and Almost is down number 6, so it's below I don't know. It's actually if we're looking at the latest count, it is a little bit better than that. But anyway, now we're getting into some, it's getting a bit arcane. It's getting a bit confusing. But continuing to find evidence to support my suspicion, that hypothesis that there are some ways in which we can look at quarter hours, and quarter hours have many problems. I caution you against overanalyzing quarter hours, even though they may be whispering to you that your favorite wrestler is a draw, but I'm not sure. But if we can see something in the quarter hours that looks encouraging, and if we see something in the YouTube views in that data that's showing, oh, look, this was one of the most viewed YouTube views of the entire show, then I think I can say more confidently, yeah, this was one of the most compelling parts of the show, one of the most attracting parts of the show. I think we can go that far. There's that. That's Raw. I thought I was going to go through Raw real quick. But anyway, here's NXT. The magenta, swishing colors, random mix of paint, NXT 2.0. NXT 2.0 this week. I do have quarters for NXT. NXT had 551,000 viewers. It was going against the State of the Union address. 165,000 of those in the demo. 0.13 demo rating. I thought this is not that bad considering they were going against the State of the Union and just tons of viewership of broadcast and cable news that was telecasting both the State of the Union address itself and other. Actually, I'm not sure what time the State of the Union actually started. Was it at 8 o'clock? In any event, strong competition. But guess what? NXT viewers maybe not so interested in the news. I should mention too that there was a weak rating now. I probably should have talked about it before. There's a weak rating on Wednesday for Dynamite. Dynamite did get beaten out by news telecasts that it doesn't usually. And if I just jump back to talking about Dynamite for a moment, AEW Dynamite ranked number 8, which is, I don't know, its lowest 1849 cable original Showbuzz Daily ranking in quite some time. It was beaten out. Usually it's beaten out by an NBA game or two. Sometimes it's beaten out by things like South Park occasionally. When the Challenge is on, which it's not right now, it can be beaten out by the Challenge. Maybe Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or whatever. But this week, beaten out by Tucker Carlson, beaten out by Sean Hannity, beaten out by 2 telecast blocks of Anderson Cooper 360. So the coverage of Russia's invasion of Ukraine is taking a bite out of AEW Dynamite. And if we look at who are the audiences that weren't watching Dynamite this week that usually do, let's look at the median of the last 4 weeks and compare it to this week. And what we see is it's not that the old viewers tuned out. No, that delta is up 2%. 2% more non-demo viewers. And actually, we can go right to P50 Plus. No difference. No difference in P50 Plus. The P50 Plus people are so predictable. You always know what they're going to do. They're going to watch the show that they're going to watch, and they're not that volatile. It's the younger viewership that usually accounts for the growth or the loss when there's growth or loss. And what we see here, I think it was the older half of the demo. Let's see if I'm remembering that right. Down 9% versus the last 4 weeks. But meanwhile, the younger half of the demo was actually up 6%. But the younger half of the demo is smaller because linear TV is older. So what we've got is, the demo being down 5%, even though these numbers almost offset 18 to 34, 35 to 49. But yeah, it is more because the back half of the key demo, the old half of the key demo, which I now is where I reside, is a larger population of viewers in general, including when it comes to AEW Dynamite. So anyway, lots of news coverage that's creating competition for programming, and it just seems one of the things we've learned here is that when there's news that does seem to affect AEW, and it affects AEW more so than it affects WWE. Make of that what you will. Anyway, NXT. I had to do NXT quarter hours this week. I had to learn so many NXT names that I have never learned before. Peak quarter. Peak quarter is quarter number 2, which had the latter half, which is quite long. 7 minutes, the last 7 minutes of the tag match between Braun Breaker and his new friend Tommaso Ciampa versus Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode, who I believe call themselves the Dirty Dogs. That Q2 also had an ad break, a live promo between Late Nite and Grayson Waller and his friend Sangha. 593,000 viewers, 177 in the demo. That was sequentially up from Q1, 8% total and 19% in the demo. Do we see some support, some corroboration in the YouTube data? Let's see. I don't know if I even have this up to date. So I don't know. I will toss this aside because I'm not really sure what happened with my script this week as I was doing some edits with it. What was I doing? It's too arcane to explain. NXT, pretty low number here in the grand scheme of things. Again, what was the total viewership for NXT this week? It was 551,000. So usually doesn't go under that benchmark, but substantially lower than it was last year. Even though it's not going against AEW Dynamite, and Dynamite is doing. Is Dynamite still doing better year over year? Even with this not great rating in total viewership, it did in the same week of last year. Dynamite did better this week than the same week last year, barely in the demo. That is also true. Speaks to, in my view, the hype and the interest around those shows. That's NXT. I thought this was going to be short. I was laying on the couch earlier going, oh my God, how am I going to do a live stream? How am I going to turn this massive ring light on and talk to these people for? But anyway, Rampage. Oh, you're going 27 minutes here. Rampage and SmackDown. I do not have SmackDown quarters this week, but SmackDown, that's an old chart. SmackDown did 2.1 million viewers, did 744 in the demo. That is a 0.57 in the demo. Rampage, meanwhile, 473,000 viewers, 223 in the demo. And if I look at that chart again, this was pretty weak rating for Rampage in total viewership in the demo versus last 4 weeks, down 14%, down 12%. So it doesn't look like a good rating for Rampage. Looks like a pretty medium rating for SmackDown. Demo up by 5% versus the last 4, down 4% versus the last 4. So decent rating for SmackDown. Are we seeing viewership strengthen as we near WrestleMania here? Maybe. I know Tony Khan believes that, or did last year, that as you get closer to WrestleMania, maybe WWE strengthens, maybe there's less interest in AEW. Rampage, the quarters, we were back to 10 o'clock on this week, and not as big of a viewership loss from Q1 onward. And in fact, in the demo for the Orange Cassidy and Anthony Bowens match, we did see growth, both in total viewership and more so in the demo, by 6% in the demo, by 2% in total viewership. So that's usually not the case. Usually we see a big Q2, relatively speaking, a big Q2, and then a big Q1 and then a much lower Q2, and then an even lower Q3, and maybe kind of a flat Q4 or something like that. But maybe this is the drawing power of Orange Cassidy, who was in the main event again with Not in the main event again, but again was in the main event with Anthony Bowens. So maybe a credit to Orange Cassidy. Take that, JR. Raw and SmackDown well ahead of Dynamite this week. Q1. As we talked about at the end of Q4, I believe, Q1 always sequentially stronger than Q4. Not just sequentially stronger, but stronger than the Q4 that it followed. So that Q4 in Raw's case against Monday Night Football, maybe just a milder season for WWE in general. If you think of some of the worst WWE content of our generation, a lot of it has happened in Q4, whether it was Katie Vick or what have you. A lot of it, that might have been September. But anyway, during football season. But Raw and SmackDown fortifying here. Their margins over Dynamite staying strong. The closest Dynamite came to Raw was M35-49, but Raw nearly doubled Dynamite in that demo that Dynamite often beats Raw in. So Raw staying pretty strong there. I want to talk about year-over-year trends. Let's review our year-over-year trends. The month of February has come to an end. And what shows are up? What shows are up from the February of last year? There is, in total viewership, there's only one show that's up year over year. That's AEW Dynamite. That is up 24%. Yes, it's not going against NXT. Meanwhile, NXT not going against Dynamite, down 7%. SmackDown, virtually flat, down only 1%. Raw, down 3%. Remember, these are comparing Raw and SmackDown in the Thunderdome to now, today, being back on the road with live audiences. Impact down by double digits for month after month here. Meanwhile, top 50 non-news cable down about 12%. The year-over-year comps on top 50 non-news cable have been all over the place because I think we're comparing it to the impeachment and Capitol attacks. January, maybe. I don't know. It's a tough comparison though because I think cable news viewership threw a lot of things off. I think that's what happened. Anyway, in the demo, do we see any different story in the demo? We see sharper declines in the demo for everybody. So again, Dynamite is the only one that's up, but it's not up 24% like it is in total viewership. It's up 17%. The only program that is up. Everybody else is down. SmackDown is down the least by 7%. Everybody else is down by double digits. Raw down 10%. NXT down 18%. Impact down 39%. Top 50 non-news cable down 20%. So what does that top 50 non-news cable mean? It's meant to be there. A purely branding created thing. I mean, the data is not created by me, but the framing, the choice to look at the non-news, because news is held up much better. It's the Showbuzz data that I'm using here, of course. But I create this column in here so we have some frame of reference of all TV is down. Okay, well, how much? 12% in February in total viewership, 20% in the demo. So if you're doing better than that, maybe you're doing okay. And everybody except SmackDown. I'm sorry, not SmackDown. Everybody except Impact is. With all the news coverage affecting at least AEW, maybe it's affecting WWE to some extent too. I wanted to look at where these programs rank on every week year to date. So that means how many weeks do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This most recent week is not complete. So we have to look at that with an asterisk. And I probably should have marked it somehow so that you were visually reminded of that. But that's why Rampage and SmackDown are blank here. So the question that this table is addressing is, in 1849, among cable originals throughout the entire day, among broadcast primetime programming, originals or not, where did this program rank in the entire week? We know that Raw does quite well now that football's out of the way. It's ranking number one. It tied with Tucker Carlson this week with the news coverage happening, if you want to call it news. But anyway, so where do these programs rank if you include an entire 7-day week? This is looking at Sunday to Saturday, and what we have is where does Dynamite rank under that criteria? 97 or 79. 92, 54, 59, 78, 52, 79, 90. So in the 50s, between 50 and 100, right? So there are at least 100 shows in a week that do better than Dynamite. This week it's going to be even worse. As of right now, with still Friday and Saturday to measure, it's already at 106. So it's going to be even worse ranked than that. Rampage, well into the hundreds, but it's better than 200. In fact, last week it did 295, and that was after the news after Russia had invaded Ukraine. So that's probably a factor there, with a lot of news being more highly ranked than usual. Raw, does this make sense? Let's ignore Raw here because we're looking at all three ranks added up, and that's messing that up. SmackDown, of course, is the leader here, which is often in the 20s or the 30s. I guess what I want at NXT is sometimes in the 200s, the 300s, 500s. I guess what I wanted to illustrate here is, for example, look at where Dynamite's going to be. It's going to be more lowly ranked than 100, which will be the first time that has happened year to date. So it's going to be ranked well worse than 100 this week. So much news coverage outranking it. I think that's it. I think that's all. Talked about the quarter hours and so forth. Things of that nature. And then from there, in any event, if you hit the thumbs up button, that helps us out a lot. That helps people. It helps the algorithm serve this in front of everybody. Everybody should be watching analysis like this. I don't know, maybe. If you think so, hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. I'll be back Sunday with Chris Gullo. Tomorrow, Chris Gullo and I will be on. Well, on is a ambiguous word. We will both be working an independent wrestling show called Empire State Wrestling. I forget what the name of the show is. Spring Break, Smash in Your Face. I don't know. Whatever, destructive and impactful brand name it has. I'm agenting the show, making sure matches happen and things of that nature. Gullo will of course be the ring announcer, and then on Sunday we will, after having encountered each other in real life, face to face, in person, IRL, we will then go back to our respective homes and remotely record a podcast. So I will see you then. We will be talking about lots. Ring of Honor has been purchased by Tony Khan. Why has it been purchased by Tony Khan and not AEW? Somebody better ask that on Sunday night. I hope so. Tony Khan did a media conference call. We'll talk about that. I even got a question in. Vince McMahon did his first interview since 2014 with Pat McAfee, who just loves him. He loves Vince McMahon. Don't we all? And plenty of else. plenty of other things to talk about too. Double or Nothing just sold out. We got maybe some pay-per-view business to talk about. Anyway, we'll see you then. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, I didn't miss any super chats or anything, did I? No, I didn't. Okay, good. Nobody gave me any money. Good. Okay. Talk to you next time. 11 a.m. Sunday.